but I didn't know who exactly will be listening to this lecture, so I didn't prepare any particular sequences, which is why I'm taking questions for sequences or new moves that you want to see.
So, it's fairly standard, but...
how strong are you, by the way?
About 5Q or so.
5Q, okay.
Get out of the way of the camera.
Sorry.
Anything else?
And then he ataried on this side first. And this is a sequence I'm not very familiar with, and I know it enough to know this position, and then you're meant to hunt it here because it threatens the extension. My opponent immediately took, and then for sake of it, he also had something like this. I think it's by there 3-4. So here I tanukied. Should you protect this cut?
On this, but wait a second, I think we are missing one black stone at least. White approached, which
Possibly
means that
an enclosure there. That looks familiar, yes. So here, should white tanuki, or should he protect the cut?
Right, okay. So in that case, we need to look at what do you expect will happen if black cuts here. How do you think it will go?
I mean, you have... I mean, this is terrible because black will extend. You're under a lot of threat here.
Yep. Should you care about this one stone? Is the question.
I feel like if you were very, very confident, you could atari this way and aim to generate more profit here than is here.
Right.
But I'm not sure how viable that is. I feel like this is more solid than trying to enclose this stone into this area.
Right.
This is more solid.
So, well, the first thing that we should think about in this kind of situation is the function of stones, right? I mean, this cut is probably a move that everybody can think about, right? Let's imagine it happens. And what interest could there be for black to try to kill this one stone? Or what interest could be for white to save it? And now the thing is that the black corner is 100% absolutely strong and alive and territory, right? So white cannot use this stone for attacking. Okay? It's not used for attacking. It could be used for defending, but how is the white group? Is it weak or strong?
It's weak.
It's weak. Tanuki? Well, if you think the white group is weak, then it would make perfect sense for you to, for example, connect here. So now you are saving your stone, and you are also reinforcing your group, right? So that makes sense. You're defending, right? But if you happen to think that black is strong and white is strong, and the cut might exist, but it's not about the strength of groups, it's just about territory.
Sure.
Meaning that white could maybe just push 2 times. Okay, black gets something, but white also becomes stronger, and you can play elsewhere again.
Sure.
Then that could also be viable. So we need to try to reduce it to functions inside our head. Defending, attacking, territory. Does this black territory look big?
Not that big now.
Not that big.
It's 6th line, I'd say it's pretty significant. It's not, I mean, certainly you have invasion points here, no doubt, but black maybe needs a move more to something...
Yep. Actually, can you do it even in one move?
One move?
If you do something like this, I think white can still invade,
Yeah.
right? But if you do like this,
Sorry.
if you do like this, now it's not very big, is it?
Yeah, no.
So it's difficult to find a perfect balance for black to make territory efficiently.
Yeah.
But at the same time, of course, black maybe doesn't have to think about territory. Black can make it into a big moyo, try to make it bigger and bigger.
Certainly.
So that's something that there's no easy answer to that one. But of course, at the same time, white is getting moves elsewhere. White didn't defend this one. White played Thunder instead. And black made a cut here. And now it's again white's turn. So white maybe entered here. And now the turn doesn't look so good anyway.
No.
So this is more about the whole board balance, and that changes all the time. And that's not really something that you can define as wrong or right,
Sure.
or good or bad.
Yeah.
So we need to think about functions. Okay? Black group, black is alive, cannot be attacked. no attacking value. White group, strong or weak, that's something that you need to figure out for yourselves. You need to play in a way that makes sense for yourself. If you think it's weak, then defend. If you think it's strong, play elsewhere. So I think, did that answer your question?
Yeah, more or less. I've heard differing opinions on whether or not I should protect or cut it.
Yep.
I asked what I
And that usually means that there's more than one correct answer. And then the point is to play in a way that you understand.
Sure.
You don't play somebody else's game, you play your game.
Of course, yeah.
Yep.
I did Tanuki. I did actually stand on set.
Yep.
And it did end up being a lost game, but I was quite happy with the result of the stone. It was a sequence I was unfamiliar with, and I wasn't sort of really comfortable with. Right position. I spent quite a long time thinking, should I protect or leave it? I really wasn't sure.
I'll fix this very quickly for you. I think you know a certain 3/3 point invasion Josuke.
Yeah.
I think you know what happens if black plays this double honey.
Yep.
I mean, you know AlphaGo and everything. You know that 3/3 is now a valid opening move,
Yes.
right? Yes. And this is also a Josuke from long time ago. Most likely you know that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And this, in Josuke books, this is defined as equal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And white usually plays elsewhere in Josuke, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and now it just happens that black has played one stone here, and white has played one stone here, and then white played this center exchange. But more or less it's about these two stones here.
Yeah, okay.
And that's not a particularly, I mean, it was always there, right?
Yeah.
And white is going out, so white shouldn't be worse than the normal Josuke,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, makes
Yep.
sense.
So it's totally nothing to worry about.
No. Yeah, I hadn't considered that. That's,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
So just in this case, we can reduce it to a Josuke that everybody knows, and that makes the thinking easier. You know that this is supposed to be fine, and you just compare it to the positions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome. Okay, 10 minutes. Next.
Can I ask you a really annoying AI question?
Sure.
So I've been canvassing opinions, trying to understand the purpose of it.
Yours, you're still in queue, are you? I know, wait a second. How soon?
2
2 okay.
maybe. So Elf Open Go version 2.
AlphaGo? You mean Master?
Elf Open
Elf
Go.
Open Go version 2,
Yes.
okay.
Do you know which move I liked at this point?
Wait, was that the one that was bonkers that moves
Yeah.
like this? Or,
Yeah. Just good. Well, I'm trying to understand why it's got preference for this move and what it does. And
Well, if I had a solid answer on that one, I would be like God of Go or something, but... I will do this by comparing to similar sequences. So for example, we have this kind of position where white has a star point stone here, and sometimes you see this kind of an attachment there. And how it usually turns out is something like this, and this, and this, and this. And depending on the whole board position, this can be fine for both players. So we can call this as Josuke, right? And then we can think about the 3/3 point here as well, right? And I think it's not inconceivable to think of black attaching here. What do you do when your opponent plays an attachment? You play high, right? Okay? So it becomes the same shape, right? Like this and like this. Okay, that makes sense. It's the same as the star point Josuke. And now it turns out that we have a stone here, black plays here. Obviously, white is going to prevent black from going in the corner, right? And taking it the other way, it was like there was a 3/3 point stone, we attached, and white didn't play the obvious honey. White played an extension here, which might not be a bad move, but it's not the move that you would want to play in this situation, so it's not optimal either. So it might simply be that, well, first of all, Elf Open Go sees all the board, so it knows moves that are viable and moves that are not quite so viable. And it has figured out that the whole board balance means this is viable. And just by the local shape, it cannot be bad for black because of the analysis we just made, because it's not this optimal sequence, it's more like this. As for what happens after this, I'm not quite sure actually. Tenuki?
usually, yeah.
Usually Tenuki, yeah.
And,
And then later in the game, well, it depends on what else we have on the board. Black might be pushing here, but that makes this white honey into a good move. So possibly it could be more like this diagonal move here instead. I've seen this one.
I've seen it play that. Yeah.
GoQuest, right?
Oh, sorry.
On GoQuest, the mobile Go server, people play 13 by 13 there, and this has been one of the more interesting discoveries there. So black is preparing for this move here, which makes ice and everything. But if white prevents it, then black just easily extends out to make a quick living shape. And now it's kind of like it was this kind of a position with the extra pit being made. So very strange second line moves, but black shouldn't be bad, right? So there's a way to continue from it, and the Tevari, the changing the order of moves analysis, shows us that white is not perfect either.
I was wondering about enclosures as well, because the AI seemed to really like to enclose a 3/4 stone. You know, if you play just one 3/4 stone in an open,
It's going to be like this later on? Or?
Yeah, exactly. It really has a heavy preference for wanting to enclose it. So I was wondering if maybe making that exchange very early is a way of stopping white having a satisfying enclosure?
Yeah, it could make sense as well. Like the AI plays this 2-space high enclosure all the time, right? And in this shape, if it happens that white plays this one, black will usually not block from here because it seems to create weaknesses outside. Black will just block here. So that could also be true. I don't know because I'm not Elf Open Go, but it also makes sense.
Yeah. No, I'm just trying to get opinions on.
Yeah, because it's not like white also doesn't have a very obvious good move next here. This one is looking pretty slow. This one leaves Aji. This one black can still go out. Here, well, okay, do we even care? Black could go out if he wanted to, but it's not becoming a big territory. So that's also true. There's nothing very urgent here. Okay, okay. You're welcome. Okay, one more.
Is what would you suggest for white if black does that?
If black does this one, what I have seen in AI analysis is it's always this one for some reason. Always. I don't know why. But what I'm suggesting is anything. It's early game, we're humans, we make mistakes. Any move that you can understand what you're doing is good. Which means that the diagonal fine, came up fine, diagonal attachment fine, any pins are fine, any angles are fine, 3-3 invasion, approach, split aside, they're all fine for humans. If you are 9 down top pro, then maybe you should think about this move. It might be 1/4 of a point better on average, but if you were 9 and pro, you wouldn't be making the question here, so anything.
Okay, thank you.
But I guess personally I would also play this one, but that's because that's the culture I live in. Pro culture.
Okay.
Did you know about this move, by the way?
Well, then I would as black I would just played this.
Yep.
And
And then here.
white would have played that. And then personally I would expect him
Go all the
to
way
play
here. If we just go by Josuke, it might be this one, but you can also play elsewhere. How is this result in this Josuke sequence? Is it good for black, white?
Black.
Good for white.
It's like for white, I think, yeah.
Differing opinions.
I like white.
I'm saying
It's
it's
good for
white as
colour.
well.
Actually, yeah.
White has sent that.
White is off, yes.
White is center.
White is also more solid than black.
But we also have this Josuke, no? And this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Now, which one is better? Answer it. Which one is better for white?
The one, top one.
Why is that?
It's got more territory.
It's got more territory. You have 2 more points here than this here. At least 2 more. Could be a little bit more as well.
But
Yeah, but
black's
black didn't
so
give you
strong.
that opportunity. Black came in low, black didn't come in high.
That is also true, but what I'm trying to say here is that if we think this is completely equal, then should white play this way, because he doesn't get what some people think as completely equal. It means that is this sequence good for white or not?
I prefer that for I prefer that for white because you gave black better shape in the top right hand corner.
Yep, exactly. So humans used to be thinking for a long time that this is bad for white, because this is normal Jersey key and white has more points. But what they didn't seem to take into account is that black is also significantly stronger here, 2 stones instead of 1, which can make a difference later on if black, for example, jumps into the center or plays a shoulder hit or something. So it's not quite as easy for white to come through here. So in the modern day, the understanding is just that, okay, they're both equal, play whatever you want. That's one of the good things about the AI. Plenty of this kind of sequences just became, yeah, they're all fine, pick whatever you want.
On that note, I've seen sometimes when people high approach, you can also take the point as if you kicked it. Does that make sense? So you can take the other 3-4 points. So,
This one?
Yeah.
This is quite rare. This is usually not good.
Okay.
Because the point is that black is not going to answer. Black plays elsewhere.
Okay.
If you answer, then it becomes locally even, right?
Okay.
But what if I don't answer and play elsewhere? What does white do? Here? But now it's kind of like you played an enclosure here, and black attached and white played here. This exchange, which is actually good for black. Usually white would want to play from the outside or something. But now it just becomes more cramped white space. This one we call strictly good for black because that's ladder breaker, outside influence, and white didn't even make the corner bigger. It could have been bigger like this, could have been bigger like this, but smaller. Okay, I think the battery is about the finishing point. Okay.